I'm a firm believer of the fact that given the fact that today what we see happening around is something which is very, very different. I think it's a world of constant change, constant disruption. And I think this is a change which is really very, very different in terms of what we are seeing, and it kind of really compels us to kind of really be thinking very, very dynamic, thinking on our feet, and really seeing that how our strategies are far more something which are changing with the times in terms of what we need to kind of really do. Today, ambiguity management is a very big thing in terms of what we need to kind of do. One thing which is only sustainable is the whole parameter of relationships leading to partnerships. The other area is empathy. I think unless we are putting ourselves in each other's shoes and really thinking from that angle, I think it doesn't kind of give us dividends in terms of where we want to kind of go. And one of the clear skills which we think needs to come in is that how do you give certainty to the uncertain situation? The first thing is, I think, very apparent, business-led thinking as I see it, unless you are able to put yourself in terms of the shoes of the business, in terms of how business is thinking, I think it becomes really very difficult to kind of do that. In a world today where there is micro-segmentation, alliance over transaction, again, this is something which is very, very important. Sometimes I think there's an eagerness to sell a spot. There is an eagerness to kind of sell the property to that extent, but that really possibly in today's world is changing. What matters is really in terms of how you are partnering with the advertiser. How are you looking at in terms of listening to what are the considerations in terms of what possibly the partner has in terms of making, in terms of going ahead, and that becomes very, very important for really an advertiser. The third area which is empathy. I spoke about it, and I think it's really essential that some of the integrations, some of the things which we kind of do, I think what we need to think about is that are they giving us a long-term impact? Are they giving the tonality and a warmth to a brand which is of a very different nature in terms of coming? Is it a lasting proposition more than just the integration in that particular property in terms of what you have done? This area which is about clarity and how you kind of really build that confidence is, I think, where basically the advertiser agency and the media owner really sits together. And I think unless we are very clear that we have a shared vision which comes in that, and unless all three are possibly aligned in terms of the outcomes which we want, it is something which will never happen. So therefore, this clarity is something which possibly is, I think, literally the backbone in terms of really aligning the whole confidence which kind of comes in. Adaptability by design, I think, again, this is something which is very close to my heart, and I always keep on saying that today a true media owner possibly is the one who kind of recognizes this very, very strongly. We all see that today when we buy into this thing, we buy into a certain TVRs happening, and therefore we calculate in terms of a certain CPRP in terms of what we are talking of in terms of going ahead and so on and so forth. The whole area of looking at visibility behind the value in terms of what you have taken, especially I think what comes to my mind is when we look at cricket as a property. The seventh area which wanted to speak to you is about the whole area of being responsible and also looking at innovation very strongly. When I say responsible, it's about also looking at the fact that today that there is a certain governance in terms of which is very, very important. There is a certain ethics and integrity in terms of how you would kind of really work. Okay, and I think you need to align with the brand from the point of view on what ethics is the brand standing on and how you would kind of really work with the brand, because that is a very, very important part with certain advertisers